Happy International Women's Day.
Happy International Women's Day,
It's so
Katie.
good to see you, Emily. So I'm Katie Hennen, CEO of Falco Creative Media, a video production company in the Twin Cities. I specialize in a wide variety of videos. So if you're a small business or a nonprofit, I'm your woman. Come to me for video. I'm also a mom to two boys, James and Francis. James, who is 3.5, and Francis, who is almost 2. I became a supporter of World Encounter, one, because I love everything about the organization. Anytime I can support a woman, sign me up. But I really got to know about World Encounter when I met my friend Emily over here. We happened to meet at a women's networking event in 2019. And if any of you have met Emily personally, you probably know what I'm going to say. We hit it off immediately. She is one of the most personable, sweetest person I've ever met. It was one of those moments after 5 minutes, did we just become best friends? So, and her passion for World Encounter just, I don't know, it inspired me big time. So I'm so honored to be asked to even be able to interview her today. So without further ado, this is CEO Emily Conroy. Emily, happy International Women's Day.
Thank you. I am just so thrilled to be joined with Katie this morning. And we have a lot to dive into in 30 minutes. So let's get started.
Absolutely. And Emily is from Minnesota, grew up a farm girl, and now you are the international CEO of an international nonprofit. Just unbelievable. So today we're really going to talk about her journey to becoming CEO. But to get started, in case anybody is new to World Encounter, maybe just fill us in on what World Encounter is.
Yeah, I'd love to. So World Encounter is an international nonprofit based in St. Paul, Minnesota, and Tanzania, Africa, founded by Kurt Rosen. World Encounter creates sustainable economic growth globally by providing capital, coaching, and community to women. Our vision is a world in which empowered women elevate communities and eliminate poverty. In rural Tanzania, we lead a microloan and mentoring program focused on supporting women in 14 villages across rural Tanzania. Currently, we have over 700 active program participants and have served over 4,000 women in Tanzania. We do have a goal of serving 10,000 women by 2030. And I want to talk about what makes our program in Tanzania unique and strong is that we require each participant to participate in a 10-woman success circle. These success circles meet monthly for 3 years to provide support and mentorship to each other. They also cross-guarantee the repayment of each other's loans, and each woman receives 3 microloans and business coaching, which is an investment of about $1,800 per woman in our program. And I also want to note that additionally, we serve as a connection point to women in the United States and throughout the world through advocacy, partnerships, and events. Like today's event, Katie, we get to spotlight you and your business as a woman entrepreneur.
Which I so appreciate it. And I was so honored to be able to speak at the Rose event last spring. So I can't thank you enough for asking me to be back here. So this is the International Women's Day Summit, and our first session of the day, the topic is embracing unpredictable pathways. Emily definitely had a very unpredictable pathway. Her journey to CEO is truly inspiring. It's incredible. Emily, just kind of fill us in on how you became a part of World Encounter.
Yeah, it is a very non-linear path, like probably many of you. I grew up in Western Minnesota on a dairy and crop farm. And I was always a very curious and inquisitive kid. I liked working. I liked taking on leadership roles. I think I was the president of my 4-H club for 7 years. So I left the farm and went to college. I studied psychology and broadcast journalism. And so that was one of our similarities, the broadcast background. I spent a short time reporting, and it was really in that moment I had to cover a story about a family who lost their home in a fire. And it was that story that I realized the power a story can have if the right person hears it. After the story aired, someone called the station, wanted to talk to me and get acquainted with the family so he could help them get into a new home as fast as possible. So I knew that I was made to do something that wasn't TV news, but was being able to share the stories of others in need and pairing it with the right person that could help them. So I went into the nonprofit industry and I spent about a decade working in nonprofit in higher education. So I've worked with the Boys and Girls Clubs of America. I've worked with the University of Minnesota. And somewhere in between those two career paths, I also fell in love. And so love brought me to Morris, Minnesota, where I worked on the Morris campus for the U of M. And that was in about 2014. So 2014 was a very big year for me. I was working my full-time job at the University of Minnesota. I got engaged to my now husband, Rob, bought a house, and started my first business. So that was kind of my year in getting into entrepreneurship. And so I kept working at the University of Minnesota and running my small business on nights and weekends. And as I took on more clients and expanded my business, I had the opportunity to do some consulting for a lot of nonprofits and other higher education institutes. And I had this feeling one day where, there's just something in my gut. I couldn't explain it, but I knew something big was going to happen. And so I called my husband and I said, come talk to me on your lunch break. And so he came over and I just said, this isn't what I'm doing isn't right. Like, I think I'm supposed to be doing something international. I think we should sell our house. And he was kind of at first like, what? Sell our house, and we were kind of living that quote unquote American dream. We had the house with the white picket fence type thing going on, two great careers. We lived near our family. And I just said like, yeah, I think we should sell our house. So if an international opportunity comes, we can just go. And he was like, and I'm like, I already called the realtor. And so he was open to it and a big supporter, and decided that if an international opportunity came, we would go. And so our house sold and we met World Encounter. And World Encounter was looking to hire a consultant. They had an investor, Hero Plumbing and Heating, and they were just looking for the right fit to go to Tanzania, spend some time with their microloan participants, understanding the operations of the program, and collect as many stories about the women. And so we did that. My husband and I both went to Tanzania, and we spent a month there, and we returned back to Minnesota with the intention of spending a few months to kind of like enjoy the holidays with family. And there's a heavy rainy season in the villages that we work in, so we wanted to wait out the worst part of the rainy season to go back. So this was March of about 2018, and we went back to the travel clinic, gearing up to go back to Tanzania. And so since we were going to spend about 8 months in Tanzania, so we were doing like, full health screening. And about halfway through my health screening at the travel clinic, they came in, someone kind of looked a little disheveled and said, "Hey, Emily, are you sure you want to go back to Tanzania?" And I was like, absolutely. Like, we sold our house, like we were all in on this project. And they're like, "You're pregnant." So insert biggest shock of my life. But one thing that my husband and I have embraced is just the unpredictable things life throws at us. And we took that shock, and we went and met with World Encounter and the investors at Hero, and we told them the news about our unplanned pregnancy, and they just thought it was great, and they would love to see my husband and I relocate to St. Paul and continue consulting and providing more leadership to World Encounter. And they started talking about in the next year or two, founder Kurt Rosen was planning to retire and do more of the operations and less of the executive leadership, and kind of planted that seed in me back in 2018. So we moved to St. Paul. We had our son Leo in September of 2018. I continued consulting for World Encounter while learning the ropes of being a mom and balancing, a career and a child and a family. And at the end of 2019, beginning of 2020, Kurt moved into the operations position, and I became CEO of World Encounter.
Quite the journey. Obviously that trip was life-changing for you. I remember when we first met, I think you told me about that trip within the first 2 minutes of meeting you. But not a lot of people could have done what you did, just sell a house and just go all in without even a contract. I mean, I can't even imagine. So what made you so confident in that moment, and how did you really lean into that decision?
I had a really great mentor in my early 20s who helped me kind of tap into my inner voice and just really listen to my heart. Or, you know, many people have like a spiritual background or religious background, and so my mentor was really helping me kind of tap into, for me, was trying to get more in tune with the Holy Spirit. Like, what is the Spirit guiding me to do? And I just felt this strong pull, like I was being guided to do something bigger, and that when I was ready, that it would be presented to me. And so it just seemed like, you know, kind of this magic moment where I was ready and committed to do something internationally, and was passionate about nonprofit, passionate about gender equality and equity, and you know, had 10 years of background in it, plus have the broadcast degree, so I know how to collect stories and photograph and film. And so it was really just like listening to that gut feeling, or like listening to what you're being called to do, and being brave in that moment. And I also, while studying psychology, I remember in one of our classes, we talked about regret, and regret usually fades with time, but not regret of something you did not do. And so in my life, you know, as I've aged and grown, and I'm always very intentional about saying yes about the things I feel really passionate about, because I don't want to, you know, be at the end of my days and regret not saying yes to going to Tanzania, or yes to a leadership position, or you know. And so that's really kind of where I find that it's scary, of course, and sometimes it takes me hearing it a few times, like, Emily, you should be doing this, and I'll be like, no, not me. Not me. I'm not meant to do this. And then I'll hear it again, or I'll feel it. I think too, like, you feel it in your body, and you just, you know, once you get to that point, you're like, I have to do this. Yeah.
And the women in World Encounters microloan program, they're supported by these success circles. Obviously, you can't run an entire international nonprofit all alone. So who do you owe some of the success to at World Encounter?
Definitely. So like many nonprofits, we have, if you think about success circles, like we have an inner circle that helps us achieve our mission. And so that would first start with our staff. And so including myself, we have 2 US based employees. And when we're fully staffed, we would have 4 to 5 employees running the microloan program in Tanzania. I do want to take this time to mention that and honor the legacy of Stephen Luther. Sorry, it was just we as a team are really close, our World Encounter internal team, because when you travel internationally, like when I was in Tanzania, you're with the team like day in, day out. You know, there's not a Hilton or a Sheraton where you check in at the end of the workday. Like, you're staying in these little, you know, these small places, and World Encounter works, like, think of 2 hours like after the road ends. Like, we're in these very remote communities, so you get to know your team well. And in May of 2020, we lost Stephen to COVID-19 and some underlying health issues that he had. And so Stephen was just a light to our program. And Kurt and I, our US staff, we feel very compelled to work harder every day to honor the legacy of Stephen. He's the reason why our program grew like it did in the last few years, where we were able to welcome 700 women into the program. And so we'll keep working hard to carry on Stephen's legacy. So that's kind of our first ring of success, is our staff. Second, like all nonprofits, we really rely on the support of volunteers. We can't do what we do without our board of directors, advisory councils. We have an event coming up in April that is all ran by volunteers. And then, of course, we're a nonprofit. So in order to do the work we do, we fundraise, and we rely on the generosity of investors and donors and partners. And since World Encounter was founded in 1996, we have had over 2,000 generous donors and supporters walk alongside us. So when you, like, I sometimes like visualize all of us in a room together, and that really is the power. We can really make huge momentum and make significant change for the lives of women and children in marginalized communities of the world when we come together with that sort of power.
Amazing. And we'll talk a little bit later about how people can get involved with World Encounter. Since this is International Women's Day, I have to ask, is there a story about a particular woman who really inspires you that you work with?
Yeah, this is always a hard question, because while I was in Tanzania, I met many women in our program who are either active participants or graduates of the program, in their first year of business to their 15th year of business. And I interviewed in depth 30 women. And so it's hard to pick, but there is one woman who really stands out and is really an example of what happens when you invest in a woman, when a woman has access to thrive. And her name is Aitiki Sieli. And Aitiki Sieli was one of our first microloan participants when they started doing microlending. And she decided that, like many women, she was going to get into an agricultural-based business. Again, these are very remote villages, so agriculture is one of the #1 sectors that women go into once they get started with their small business. So Aitiki Sieli decided that she would do poultry farming. And a big reason why is poultry has kind of 2 sources of income. You have the egg and the chicken. Don't ask me what came first. Sorry. But so she started a poultry business, and she had her 9 other women in the 10-woman success circle, and they would meet, and she bought a few chickens and started, and about halfway through the program, her entire flock died. And so she went back to her success circle, kind of ready to throw in the towel. And they lifted Aitiki Sieli up in that moment and said, like, we have you, we support you. Let's look into what went wrong so we can prevent that in the future. Let's learn to do this better. And, basically that group lifted her up. And she went out and she learned about the poultry industry, like what vaccinations are needed, or what sort of feed should I be feeding? How should my chicken coop be kept, and all these things. And she really took off within her poultry business and really became this just well-versed and educated woman within the poultry industry. So people started to see that, and she started to expand. She started incubating eggs, and then she started to be asked to consult other farmers or even governments and leaders. And so she just kept expanding her business. And while her success was blooming and she was gaining more and more capital, instead of investing that money back into herself, building a bigger home or buying more dresses, because I spent quite a lot of time with her and I only saw 2 dresses. And so just knowing that she had the access to buy more things for herself, she didn't. And this is a stat that the World Bank talks about a lot. 90% of the income women generate is put back into the families and the communities. So Aitiki Sieli was doing that, and she knew that her village needed a school. Her husband was a school teacher, and they knew that it was lacking space for that early childhood education, the 3 to 5-year-olds. And when I was there, she had just built her first classroom where she was welcoming 32 new students into the program. And so it's huge to be able to provide access to education to both boys and girls living in these villages. And this allows then the moms to, be more successful in their business because they know their children are safe at school and getting the proper education. And so ITKCLA keeps expanding her school. It's now up to 3 classrooms. They have a bus to help with transportation. They have a cafeteria, so the kids are getting fed. And I'm just always excited to hear what ITKCLA is doing. And it's all because somebody said yes to investing in her and getting her a microloan and business coaching. And, her one microloan and her business turned into, I'm guessing ITKCLA personally has impacted the lives of hundreds of people in her village.
Isn't it amazing how one woman can change the lives of so many others?
Yeah.
And I'm sure it brings you so much joy just watching her journey and what she's been able to accomplish. Emily, you have to tell us, what are your future goals for World Encounter, and everybody who's tuning in, how can they get involved? How can they volunteer? How can they become a donor?
So one of our audacious goals is, as I stated earlier, is World Encounter would like to serve 10,000 women by 2030. That's probably our largest program goal. And so what that means, like most immediately, is helping the women who are currently in our program. So a short-term goal of ours, like many nonprofits and international organizations, COVID-19 severely impacted the global economy. And since we are in the business of eradicating poverty, we feel that in 2021, we'll be working with our 700 plus active participants to provide any necessary loan relief that was caused. We know with the statistics that are out there that the global economy has kind of basically moved backwards by about 25 years because of COVID-19. And so we want to make sure that if women need extensions or loan forgiveness, that's offered to them this year. So what that means and what that requires is more fundraising on our part. And so we really hope to increase our brand locally here in the Twin Cities and get more engaged with local partnerships and individuals, expand our brand. We would love to see 50 new monthly donors come in before the end of this quarter. Being a monthly sponsor is probably the best way you can support any nonprofit because it helps us budget and plan ahead. And it helps us know how many women we can bring, like new women we can bring into the microloan program. And then one of the fun ways to get involved with World Encounter actually is coming up in April. Mm-hmm. You were part of it last year. So fun. It's the Spring Rose event. We had to switch last year due to the pandemic. We went from an in-person event to an online event. And what we learned from that is our pandemic pivot actually ended up being a good thing because we were able to welcome people from 8 different states and 5 different countries. So it really turned into an international event. And our spring event is a way for us to raise funds for microloans and mentoring in Tanzania. And so the best way anyone can get involved, whether that's volunteering time like you're doing with me today, Katie, or if you want to become a donor or buy a ticket to our Rose event, head back to worldencounter.org or the site that we're on today, women.worldencounter.org, and just learn more about us. I'm also happy to virtually meet anyone for coffee while we're still in the pandemic. And you can ask me any questions or see if there's an area for you to share your talents with World Encounter.
Incredible. So head to worldencounter.org. Emily, we're doing so good on time. This is really good for us. We usually get very in the moment.
Yes,
so we really stayed, but there's one thing I want to do. Yeah. Just so people can get to know you a little bit more.
Okay.
So like Emily mentioned, I was also in broadcast as a sports reporter, and I used to do something called 3 and Out with the athletes, where I would rapid fire questions at them. You can't think about it, just say what comes to mind.
Okay.
And I have even a list here.
I'm ready.
So, okay. And they're just silly fun questions, just to get to know you. All right, you ready?
Yes.
Here we go.
Okay.
Burger or pizza?
Pizza?
Facebook or Instagram?
Instagram.
Cats or dogs?
Cats.
Favorite restaurant?
Ooh, that's hard. Geez. You're gonna have to skip that because I am like flooded.
There's
with
too many.
So many.
There's
yeah,
too many in
yeah.
Twin Cities. Your go-to coffee order?
A latte, just a plain latte.
Not even vanilla.
No
Just
vanilla,
plain.
no flavoring. Yeah, I like the taste of coffee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you rather watch a movie or play a board game?
Movie.
How do you like your eggs cooked?
Oh, I like them all the ways, but probably sunny side up is my favorite.
Favorite ice cream flavor?
Peppermint.
Favorite season of the year?
Summer. Yeah.
Favorite outdoor activity?
That's hard too. You know, I really enjoy spending any time outside. So whether it's like hiking or at the lake, you know, I'm happy when I'm outside.
It's such a Minnesota answer. anytime it's allowed. Favorite children's book to read to Leo?
Oh, that's a good one. Right now we're really into Dear Boy, which well, it's rapid fire. So look up Dear Boy. If you have boys, if you're a boy mom yourself, it's a really cute book about being confident and being like inclusive.
Yeah, to buy that. Are you a morning or a night person?
I am an every hour of every day person.
Such an entrepreneur answer. Favorite Disney movie?
That's a hard one too. I'm gonna go with Lion King, and this is a fun fact in case any of you didn't know that a lot of the words and character names of the Lion King is in Swahili. All of the women in our Tanzania program speak Swahili. So for example, like Rafiki means friend in Swahili. So if you watch The Lion King, you'll also be learning Swahili while you do it.
Look at that. Favorite type of jewelry?
You know, I'm minimalist when it comes to jewelry. So I don't even wear my wedding ring. I wear this necklace though pretty much all the time. So this is my like only and favorite piece of jewelry. So,
and lastly, favorite holiday?
Oh, you know what? It's a toss up for me between Easter and Christmas. So Easter's coming up, so that's something to look forward to. So that's something to look forward to. Yeah.
Emily, this was so fun. And just really quick, can you fill us in on what's going on the rest of the day for the summit?
Yes. So today is our International Women's Day Summit. Katie was gracious enough to kick us off at this 9 a.m. session so you could get to know a little bit more about me and World Encounter. At 10 a.m., I am going to be joined by some of Minnesota's most amazing farmers, makers, and bakers. And so I want to share with you the stories of how they entered into those industries. And also many of the women we serve in Tanzania are also farmers, makers, and bakers. So it's a really fun way to bridge and connect women globally. At 12, we will be talking about the stories we share and having like diverse conversations and inclusiveness within being a boss or a mother. And so I'm super excited for that. That's at 12. So anytime, we're gonna end this session now, but come again and join us at 10 o'clock and then again at noon. This will also be recorded and shared out. So if you can't, but really want to catch the 10 a.m. and the noon sessions, but it just doesn't fit in your schedule, we will be able to get you access to the recordings. But I just want to thank you all again. I hope to see some of you at our spring event, and I hope that after the pandemic, we can be in person as well.
And those sessions that Emily just mentioned, you can join those by clicking the same link that you did to join this session. Again, make sure to head to worldencounter.org to learn more about this amazing organization. And happy International Women's Day, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. And Emily, I just love everything about you. Thank you for having me. All right, and they will see you at 10 a.m.
Perfect.